Good morning, everybody. We're going to start the water protection program and tribal experiences for tribes with reservations. So we're going to kick off this water session. My name is Michael. Uh, you probably should all know where the bathroom is by now, but if not, it's to the right outside the door. I'm going to introduce the panelists, and from there, they are our subject matter experts. And some of the highlights, we're going to go over treatment as a sovereign, treatment as a state, the Wetlands Protection Development Grant, Water Quality Exchange, and the Columbia River Basin Restoration. With that, I'm going to start with introducing Andrea.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. My name is Andrea Ramirez. I work as a Water Quality Standards Coordinator for EPA Region 10. I'm based out of the Seattle office where I'm located right now. Thank you, everyone, for being present and joining the TELS conference. So, just very briefly, my role as a Water Quality Standards Coordinator includes working with tribes when they're developing or revising the water quality standards. And then another part of that is working with tribes on the treatment as a sovereign or TAS applications for water quality standards. Um, and water quality standards can serve as a scientific and regulatory basis to achieve certain water quality goals for states and tribes. Um, specifically for this for TELS, I'm going to be covering the TAS for water quality standards. There's just a couple of eligibility factors that tribes need to be able to demonstrate as part of the TAS application, which would be to be federally recognized, to have a governing body, to have the authority to regulate water quality, and to have or will have the capability to administer an effective water quality standards program. And just very briefly, I'm going to mention what the application process looks like. But of course, you can always reach out to us in the region for further information on the application process. I would say the first step that we really aim to have is early communication and early coordination. We're always available here in the region to answer any questions, to provide guidance on the application process, and then if the tribes wish to do so, you can also share a draft form of the application, and we can go over that so that by the time that the tribe submits the formal application, the process is smoother and can be completed in a timely manner. And then once the tribe submits the formal application to us, there's the review process by the regional and headquarters staff. There's a public participation process, a public comment period. So the application that is submitted to us is made available to the public for comment. Um, and then there's the review and decision process from EPA. And then if the tribe gets approved for TS for water quality standards, that's when EPA can take action on those water quality standards to be effective under the Clean Water Act. And that is, just a very quick overview of the TAS for water quality standards process. There's other programs under the Clean Water Act where tribes can obtain TAS, and each one of those requires a separate application and approval process. After this session, if you have any questions and whatnot about the TAS, please feel free to reach out. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea. And so that you guys know, the panelists will introduce themselves and their subject matter. Afterwards, we're going to break out so that you'll have an opportunity to really engage with them if you have questions. And by all means, please write them down or engage with us after. We are definitely available to you. Next, Michelle Mayer.
Hello. Is it working? Okay, good. Perfect. Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Michelle Mayer. I work in the Water Quality Assessment Program at EPA Region 10. And I'm here to really highlight some of the tools and resources that we have to help tribes assess water quality condition and report out on the attainment results. So I'm just going to provide a very brief overview of some of the tools we have, but we can provide technical support and really work with you to figure out which tools would be really helpful for your programs. So some of the resources that we have include tools and training for submitting data to the Water Quality Exchange, also known as WQX. There's also some work groups going on looking at developing automated data analysis tools to compile and evaluate the data. So that's a work group that anyone interested could start participating in. So we do have some one-pagers with a lot more information and our contact information that you can look at after the session is over. But if that's something you're interested in, please let me know. EPA also has some water quality assessment modules for tribes that offer training and some examples about how to assess water quality condition and determine designated use support. And a couple other things. So for tribes with TIS for 106 that are interested in transitioning their assessment reports to an electronic submission, there's actually an attains tribal rollout that's going on right now. And that provides technical support to any tribes that are interested in submitting their attainment results directly to attains. And attains is EPA's database that houses all of the state attainment decisions and then also makes it available to be displayed publicly on EPA's How's My Waterway application. So finally, for those tribes that either are interested in a TIS for water quality standards or maybe already have TIS for water quality standards, which is what Andrea just spoke about, you can also apply for TIS for the 303D program, which is the Clean Water Act regulatory program for listing impaired waters and establishing total maximum daily loads, or TMDLs. So if that is something you're interested in, we can definitely support going through that process and all the different steps involved there. So that was a very brief overview of some of the things that we have. But like I said, all of our contact information is on this one pager. Please reach out to us if there are any questions you have or interested in anything water quality assessment related. We can work with you to figure out, at what stage different tools would be helpful. So this is really just a plug for our technical support that we can provide. So yeah, looking forward to talking more and hopefully hearing from some of you in the future.
So yeah, as I mentioned, if you hear anything that the panelists bring up that you have more questions, they are literally physically here. Andrea is on, and it's our job. We would love to help you. So next, Michelle Wilcox, Columbia River Basin Grant Program Team Lead.
Hi, good morning, everyone. So my program, it's a voluntary program. It's competitive funding. But as Jane Nishida mentioned earlier today, our start came from the tribes. Working with EPA, demanding fish consumption rates that were protective of tribal consumption. And through the years, working with EPA as well as working with Washington and Idaho and Oregon, and then also Montana, there was an amendment to the Clean Water Act back in 2016, the Columbia River Basin Restoration Act. And so that brings us to today, where we have received 5 years of funding from Congress to run a competitive funding assistance program. And then we also have what we call a working group. So at the time, there was a toxics focused working group that was entities in the basin, our partners within the basin. Many of you are here today, or your tribes are here today, that are working together to reduce toxics in the basin. There was no funding available, so people were piecemealing their efforts, their monitoring programs together over the years to try to get a better handle on not only what was in the basin, but also how to reduce toxics in the basin. And that may be through outreach, that may be through pollution prevention activities, that may be through working on small scale cleanups outside of some other programs, Superfund or brownfield programs. So today I'm here to talk about that program specifically, and then we do have an open funding opportunity right now. It opened in March, the middle of March. It ends May 17th. But I do have some flyers, some information about this outside on the EPA table in the hallway, and you're welcome to come talk to me about it, and I can put you in touch with more information about it. But our open funding opportunity right now is specifically for science and monitoring. So we received $79 million through the bipartisan infrastructure law. We have awarded all of that money to date. Most of that was for implementation or for effectiveness monitoring. This round, it's congressional appropriations dollars. It's for either novel approaches to monitoring or analytical methods. It could be for larger scale applications of ongoing monitoring programs. It could be for emerging contaminants, for example, like if you're trying to understand if PFAS is out there within the basin. It can be for things like that. So this is really a purely science and monitoring opportunity, which is not that common. If you're in the monitoring world, it's kind of hard to find money for status and trends monitoring. So I do want to highlight that. That's why I'm here today. We have a total of about 15 million. We're looking at a minimum of 300,000 per application or a maximum of 3 million. And you can submit a project for a project length period up to 5 years. And we do encourage partnerships. So maybe, I know it's closing in a few weeks, but if you have some partners out there that you know are maybe applying, if you want to add a task order onto theirs, we do encourage partnerships across the basin. So I wanted to highlight that. I'm also here on behalf of my other EPA geographic programs. That's what we call it in the EPA world, the National Estuary Program, and then the geographic program. So Columbia River Basin is one of those geographic programs, but we also have the Puget Sound National Estuary Program. We also have the Lower Columbia Estuary Program and partnership work that they're doing there. And then the Tillamook Estuary Partnership, as well as the Urban Waters Program. So if you're interested in any of those, I also have created a one-pager that's out on the EPA table, and you're welcome to grab that. I've got contact information for the individuals at EPA who can help you with more information about those programs. So with that, I'll stop there. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. My new best friend, Angela Slaughter, Environmental Protection Specialist.
Thank you, Michael. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming. And I also want to say again, it's a pleasure to be here to meet everyone. I'm going to be administering three new programs for the tribes, and I'd like to take opportunities like this to come out and meet everyone. So again, my name is Angela Slaughter. I work in the Seattle office for EPA. I'm going to be the new project officer for 3 new emerging contaminants programs. And I want to take this opportunity to talk about them. But I know you probably heard this before. A lot of EPA staff talks about how the new bipartisan infrastructure law is unprecedented, but for someone like myself who's worked in public water for over 25 years, it truly really is an unprecedented amount of investment in water. So I kind of wanted to take this opportunity to share that. I worked for the Department of Interior for over 25 years, and my roles were negotiating water service contracts. And so throughout my career, it's been a challenge trying to get our leaders to invest in our water projects. And again, I just wanted to share that right now we are in a position to take advantage of these investments. So that said, the 3 new programs that I will be administering are the Drinking Water Infrastructure Grant, Emerging Contaminants Program, the Clean Water Indian Set Aside Emerging Contaminant Program, and the Emerging Contaminants in Small Disadvantaged Communities. And quickly, just to distinguish between emerging contaminants and, of course, are regulated. Emerging contaminants are just those that are not subject right now to drinking water regulations, but are, of course, being detected in low levels in our surface water. So these programs that I'm going to be administering are specific to tribes, and I want to get the opportunity to share with you the upcoming availability. A couple of highlights. Again, these are new programs that have been authorized under the bipartisan infrastructure law. And a couple things that I'd like to share that these grants will be available for direct implementation to tribes. A lot of our grant programs, as you know, we work with the states and through the Indian Health Service to administer. But these programs, we have the ability to actually grant money directly to tribes. So that's something that we are working on as we develop the guidelines for these programs. And a quick couple things about eligibility. For the drinking water and clean water programs, the eligibility will be consistent with the existing drinking water infrastructure and clean water Indian set-aside programs that are already existing. So when it comes to emerging contaminants, we'll just use those baseline eligibility. But for the new small and disadvantaged community program for the tribes, the couple of eligibility items that I'd like to highlight would be, these will be for tribal systems that serve less than 10,000 individuals and who have no capacity to incur debt. So with that said, I'm in the process of developing, like I said, guidelines to try to assist tribes in understanding and applying for these funds. I anticipate having this information available hopefully by the midsummer, late summer. But the good thing about these programs and the funding is that they're no year funds, whereas a lot of grants, you have to get your applications and your project proposals in by a certain time. We have the flexibility under these programs, which the funding is, we have fiscal year 22 through fiscal year 2026 funding. But like I said, the good thing is that we don't have to try to get these funds or get them granted by a certain period of the year. So they're available throughout the year. And we, like I said, anticipate having some guidelines available, hopefully coming this summer. So I hope that you are able to take advantage of these particular programs. I'm here to answer any questions. I also have a one-pager, but recognize these are pretty new, and we're doing our best to try to get the process put on paper as easily and quickly as we can. But I'm definitely here to answer any questions. And again, thank you for the opportunity to be here. It's a pleasure to meet all of you all. Thanks.
Thank you, Angela. And last but not least, Yvonne Vallette, aquatic ecologist.
I love it when you save the best for last. So I'm here to talk about a little gem of a program that we have. It's called the Enhancing State and Tribal Program. And I'm Yvonne Vallette, so I work in the oceans and wetlands and oceans section in the water division. So our focus is a lot on the kind of the aquatic resource side of things. while we call ourselves a wetlands program, we actually look much broader than that. We work lakes, streams, estuaries, the whole gambit. But this enhancing state and tribal program effort is tied to primarily to wetland program development grant opportunities that we have. It's a small grant program, competitive, but it's been very powerful for our states, tribes, and local governments, and being able to basically direct more effort and emphasis in kind of 4 key areas, which is in monitoring and assessment work, voluntary restoration, regulatory, including like the 401 kind of components, as well as in development of water quality standards for wetlands and other water bodies. This funding opportunity occurs actually at 2 different levels. At the regional level, we have about a $2 million pot that we advertise every other year. It's, like I said, a small pot of money compared to other programs like 15 million, but it's been a consistent program. And many of our tribes in particular have found it to be very fundamental in bringing on additional resources to do work such as, status and trend mapping for wetlands and other water resources, helping to do more advanced monitoring and assessment of their aquatic resources, and also to help develop tribal ordinances. So these fundings usually can pay either for dedicated staff, to work on water quality or water and wetland related projects, but it also can be used for contract support as well to help, fill in some of the information gaps as to where resources are located on a tribe. So even though, like I said, it's a small pot of money, but there's also a national set aside, which is $3 million that's available on the opposite years of when the regional funds are available. And again, Region 10 tribes are eligible to apply for that national pot of money. And even though it's a really small program, it kind of has, like I said, at least some value and be able to strengthen your existing programs and bring additional resources. And we also have a 1-page information sheet. Again, contact information is there. If you have any questions, we'll make sure, typically through the tribal coordinators, to let folks know when those next opportunities come out for application. And yep, that's all I have.
Thank you, Yvonne. And next will be Lucas Dusablan. He'll take the panel to the next.
Yeah, so hi, everybody. My name is Lucas Dusablan. For those I haven't met, EPA Region 10. There we go. So the purpose of this session here, now that you've heard from our 5 panelists, is to kind of tee up conversation amongst everyone. So what we'd like to do is take about 15-20 minutes and get back together at 10:45. And I'd like for you in your tables or to rove around and talk to others, or just by yourself, even think about where your program individually stands on the continuum of capacity with all of these programs. Is there a program that you heard about from one of our panelists that really interests you, or the tribe that you work with? Where are you in accomplishing the goals and objectives of all these grant programs, or going for TAS for these various different opportunities under the Clean Water Act? So please just take a little bit of time, talk about it amongst yourselves. We are going to come back around 10:45, and we are looking to hear from you on what you're interested in. We'll have our panelists come up and take some time to answer any questions folks have. And just a reminder too, we are going to have opportunities tomorrow as well for you to dig a little bit deeper if you'd like to talk to any of the panelists that we have here to learn more about these programs. So with that, please feel free to talk. And we are looking for things, by the way, both positive and negative when it comes to your experiences with these programs. We really want to hear from you on what EPA can do to help make these, getting the grant funding or applying for TAS to make it go better. All right, so we'll come back together at 10:45. We do have some one-pagers as well for all the speakers who just gave us their spiels, but we don't have enough for everybody. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and pass out one of each to all the tables, and there will be a few extra copies up front if you need your own copy too. Awesome. Be back in 15-20 minutes.
I could tell there was a lot of conversation. So at this next phase, I want to invite the panelists up. And this is an opportunity to ask any questions directly to the panelists, but we'd also love to hear what you've discussed at your table. If any of these grant programs have stimulated any ideas, by all means, this is an opportunity to ask your questions and share your story. So with that, do we have any volunteers willing to share what they discussed at their table or any questions that you have for the panelists? I'm looking at you, Russ. Yes.
Hi, so my name's Kim. I work for the Ho tribe in Washington. So something that is on my mind and a lot of Western Washington tribes is 6 PPDQ. We work with the Northwest Indian Fisheries Commission, and we've been discussing how we could collect samples in our region to get just baseline data on where it's located and whether we should be concerned, whether we need to do BMPs, et cetera. So my question is for the emerging contaminants. With this funding, can we use it for surface water? And is 6-PPDQ an emergent contaminant that could be monitored under that program? And also, sorry, one more. Can tribal consortia apply for that funding?
So thank you for the questions. Your first question had to do with the 6 PBQ, correct? I'm not that familiar with all of the different emerging contaminants, but I can direct you to our candidate contaminant list, which lists all of the emerging contaminants that are eligible for this type of funding. And there's quite a few and they're actually, being updated quite often. So I would direct you directly to our website, the epa.gov for sure. And the second question is, are consortiums eligible for this funding? And unfortunately, they are not. We are able to work directly with tribes or with the states for these particular funds. So unfortunately, at this time, we are not able to do direct funds with the consortium. So I hope those answered your questions.
Oh, sorry. Is surface water monitoring allowed, or is it just drinking water?
Yes, surface water is available, yes.
I just wanted to add to that question that I know the Ho are not in the Columbia River Basin, but if you are a tribe within the Columbia River Basin, you are allowed to apply for emerging contaminants work. We also do allow non-governmental organizations. So if you are a tribal consortia, but you're a nonprofit, you can apply as a nonprofit. So you don't have to be a tribal government. Of course, tribal governments are eligible also, but as a consortia, you can come in as a nonprofit and do emerging contaminants work. As long as the work is within the basin, you are allowed to do that.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Russ Hepper, Vice Chair at the L1. We don't have TAS or water quality standards. But if we did, how far upriver would it go? We have Olympic National Park is probably 10 miles upriver. Would federal standards take over, or would our standards?
Well, as far as we would have to look as part of the application at the land descriptions and for the different where the standards would apply. But if it's not reservation or trust lands, then it would apply for the state standards would apply in national parks.
Any other questions?
This is Kim again. So I have a follow-up question then related to Russ's question. How is the new rulemaking related to treaty reserved hunting, fishing rights going to come into play with that? Because I don't know exactly what Elwha's UNA is, but you know, they do have a UNA that extends beyond the reservation, and the Ho tribe does as well.
Well, now when the rule comes into effect, for the implementation to be triggered, the tribes need to assert their reserve rights, their aquatic dependent reserve rights, to the state in writing. And then based on that, the state would evaluate those. But yeah, that would be part of the implementation part of it.
Hi, this is Han in the room, Han Shaw. I'm going to ask Erica Fleissig to clarify and add a little more information on some of the questions that has been asked.
Thanks.
Hi, I'm Erica Fleissig. I'm a team leader in the Water Quality Standards Program at EPA headquarters, and I was one of the leads on the rule that we just issued and announced today. So we're really excited to be here and talking about it. It applies wherever a tribe has reserve rights as we've defined in our rules. So that could be off reservation, that could be on reservation. It just depends. And as Andrea said, it's a tribe would assert that right to a state and to EPA in writing. And then we would look at the water quality standards, you know, whether there need to be new or revised water quality standards to protect those rights. So that would apply wherever, you know, UNA areas are, wherever the rights apply. So it doesn't have to, it would not be limited to the tribe's reservations. And then I wanted to mention too, in national parks, there's a little bit of a mixed bag. Sometimes state standards apply, sometimes federal jurisdiction, the feds have jurisdiction in state parks. So it just depends on, or national parks, it depends which national park we're looking at. Does that help answer your question?
Any other questions? If you'd like to share anything that you discussed at your table as well with us, we're here to listen. If not, I have a bag full of bad jokes, if you're ready.
Well, I was trying to avoid the jokes, and I am from Alaska, so I think I wandered into the wrong room. But in hearing the conversation just towards the end here, I wanted to ask Han to look, maybe use the VAWA laws of 2022, the revisions to those acts, as maybe trying to find a way to enforce some of this in Alaska. So there is precedent for our federal partners to give tribes in Alaska authority over the land, their traditional lands. That may be a way for us to work in the future to bring some of these water standard rights to Alaskan tribes too, is have that same caveat. This is a suggestion, but thanks.
Oh, sorry. I just wanted to add too, as people are thinking about their programs, another program that we have in our group within the Water Division at EPA Region 10 that I didn't mention earlier because it's not specifically a geographic program or national estuary program. But we do have a Clean Water Act, Section 106 and Section 319 programs for tribes. And I know our person, Crystal Mendelman, has come here and spoken to you frequently about it, but she did want me to let you know in case you are new staff or you are interested in developing that program and maybe you don't have one yet, that you could reach out to her, and her contact information is on the top of that sheet. But if you are looking for doing some surface water monitoring, maybe one of those programs might be helpful for you for addressing emerging contaminants if you're not within the Puget Sound or the Columbia River Basin geographic program locations.
Thank you. I want to give the panelists one more opportunity. Don't feel any pressure, but if you'd like to share anything, or maybe any questions that came up, if you want to add any details, this would be a good opportunity.
Thanks, Michael. I didn't get a chance to add all of the different highlights for the 3 emerging contaminants programs, but I did want to remind everyone that these are no matching. So there's no matching requirement for the 3 emerging contaminants programs that I spoke about before. So I think that's an important part. Thank you, Claudia.
Like I said, the wetland program development grants also don't require a match if they go into a performance partnership grant. Otherwise, there is a 25%, but again, that 25% can often be covered in a variety of different ways, including in-kind services and other partnerships and things like that.
I'll just mention that we don't have funding for our support, but we do have folks that provide technical support. So even if there's funding not associated with it, hopefully we can help you just at a staff level as well.
And I did want to acknowledge again, the importance of the work that you're all doing out there and with the federal governments and the state governments, because it's really because of you that we have this program, the Columbia River Basin Restoration Act, and it was codified in statute and it's part of the Clean Water Act. And because of that, we do have both, you are allowed to waive match if you're a tribal government, that's in statute, you can request a waiver. And then you also can use other federal dollars to match. So that's a very unique, not many programs. I don't know if any other EPA programs allows federal dollars to match federal dollars. So I just want to really acknowledge that the program was built for and because of the tribes in the basin and the work that they've done in trying to address toxics in the basin. So I really do want to encourage you to take advantage of this program. If your tribe isn't already a grantee of ours, please come talk to us, and we'd really like to help you become one. So thank you.
Great. Well, we would love more questions too, but something we do want to try and get from the group during the session today is any experiences you're having, positive or negative, as you've been applying for these grant programs, as you've gone about TAS for multiple different Clean Water Act authorities. Any just feedback in general as well is something that we're trying to get out of this TELS session. So please let me know if you have more to share. I'll bring you the mic. Any bites? Yeah, Michael has a lot of dad jokes. He's prepared to use them too.
On those lines, Lucas, I will say, since my programs are really new and I'm in the process of sort of developing instructions and guidelines, this would be an opportunity to share with us some of the ways that you would like to be involved and provide input. Again, I am really looking forward to meeting and getting on the ground and meeting most of or all of the tribes specifically. But like I said, because my programs are very new, I'm really, really interested in getting input as to how we should best go about getting you guys involved in the development. So I just thought I'd share that since this is the input time. Thanks.
I would like to see the programs eventually show up in Alaska. And I know it's a legislative issue to work in Alaska right now with water programs, but I still think the tribes in Alaska would benefit by establishing baselines and acquiring some of this data. So I'm hoping that through the GAP programs and some of the other programs, it'd be nice to start protecting these waters before they're gone and be proactive instead of reactive to it. That's it. That little thing.
Any other input? You know, people keep complaining that my salads are dry. I guess that's something that needs addressing. Well, with that, it doesn't hurt if we end a little early, but by all means, please, communicate, talk among yourselves. It's right before lunch, so. Oh, never mind. I'm hungry.
Yeah.
Michael.
One more round of applause, please, for the panel too. They're here to help. Thanks, Andrea.
Thank you.